And as relations between India and Bangladesh continue to sour, an old friend to both nations is now weighing in.
Well, the Russian ambassador to Bangladesh, Alexander Grigorievich Kozin, has urged Dhaka to de-escalate tensions with its neighbor New Delhi. There have been a number of diplomatic escalations by Bangladesh in just the recent days. In the latest, India summoned the Bangladeshi High Commissioner. This happened just last evening. High Commissioner Riaz Hamidullah was summoned following a similar move by Bangladesh earlier yesterday.
The Indian High Commissioner in Dhaka, Pranay Verma, was summoned for the second time in 10 days. He was called because Dhaka wanted to convey grave concerns over the recent protests outside Bangladesh's diplomatic and consular facilities in India.
Protests have been taking place in India as well over the recent lynching of a Hindu man in Bangladesh named Dipu Chandra Das, who was killed on the 18th of December following accusations of blasphemy, and there was no proof found of those accusations later.
While the protests outside the Bangladesh High Commission in New Delhi drew hundreds of demonstrators. Some of them broke through barricades around the facility, but they were stopped from reaching the High Commission building. They were then taken into custody.
India has maintained that it has kept the Bangladeshi diplomatic facilities safe as required by the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, but Dhaka has reacted sharply to the protests in India, putting out regular statements of concern and summoning the Indian envoy in Dhaka twice so far.
Well, Bangladesh has also suspended all visa and consular services in New Delhi and the city of Siliguri. That's where major protests took place.
It is amid this intense backdrop that the Russian ambassador made his remark at a press conference at the Russian embassy in Dhaka. Kozin said, I quote here, "The sooner you reduce the tension, the better, because historically since 1971, when Bangladesh gained independence, it was mostly because of Indian help." This is exactly what he said. He also reminded Bangladesh that Russia had played its part in its liberation and that India, Bangladesh and Russia should continue to work shoulder to shoulder.
Now, let's tell you a bit of history here. India played an instrumental role in helping Bangladesh get its independence from Pakistan in 1971. Between 1947 and 1971, what is today known as Bangladesh was called East Pakistan. The people of East Pakistan suffered decades of repression and neglect from the authorities in Islamabad. And even when an East Pakistani army, the Awami League, swept elections in 1970, the region was not given the power it was due. Instead, Islamabad launched Operation Searchlight in March 1971, which led to mass killings and arrests in East Pakistan. That is what ignited the Bangladeshi freedom struggle.
On the 3rd of December, Islamabad launched Operation Genghis Khan, targeting 11 Indian airfields, and this is when India decided to officially enter the war on the side of the Bangladeshi revolutionaries. But Pakistan wasn't without its friends. The US sent a part of its 7th Fleet Task Force 74 to the Bay of Bengal. It was led by what was then the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Enterprise. America also sent several guided missile destroyers and other ships as part of this task force.
The goal was to intimidate India, get New Delhi to back off and allow Pakistan to quash any hopes of Bangladeshi freedom. But the Americans weren't prepared to deal with India's old friend, the Soviet Union. New
Delhi sent an urgent message to Moscow and asked for help dealing with the Americans, and the Soviets came through. They dispatched nuclear-armed submarines and destroyers from Vladivostok in the Far East. The Russian fleet moved to intercept the Americans before they could even reach India, and the Russian submarines encircled the US Naval Task Force and prevented the Americans from threatening India. Thus, India could continue to help the Bangladeshi revolutionaries, and eventually this led to the victory just days later. And that is how Moscow, Delhi and Dhaka, they stood shoulder to shoulder for the first time in history. And that is what the Russian ambassador asked Bangladesh's interim government to recall. But will the new challenges that facing Dhaka will be willing to listen?